How do we know what other trustees are on board?
I'm fine to have the video blocked, but if you want, you can put it on. I don't know what you guys want.
Andra, I will call on you, well, I'm going to thank you, but I'm also going to call on, would you like to say something? If not, that's okay.
Here, present.
Okay, thank you for being on the line.
Myself.
Is Trustee Vela on the line?
Sure.
Trustee Vela? Okay, not yet.
He says he is. He's just muted. Can we just unmute everyone and allow people to just mute themselves?
There I am. Now, someone just unmuted me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carmen, who's the Zoom host?
Albert. He was,
okay.
Since we started earlier, I asked him to set up the meeting for us, but now we can unmute everyone and rely on their courtesy to mute themselves when they aren't speaking.
Great. Thank you. And then, Carmen, can you see the comments also? So if we want to say something, should we just type, or should we just try to raise our hand?
I can see the comments, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Tell me when to start.
It's time, sir.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is Wednesday, March 25th. We're here at the downtown office of the Education Service Center. In the room, actually, we are observing probably more than 6 feet of distance in terms of social distancing. In the room with me, you have Chancellor Francisco Rodriguez, who's with us today. We have a robust agenda, and we are on Facebook. And just to be clear, we are on Facebook Live. We're also on Zoom. And I want to make sure that everyone goes on there. And the agenda, like I said earlier, is robust. Because we want to touch on a lot of subjects, specifically this ad hoc committee. And on the phone, I want to thank President Hoffman, who made sure and put this committee together. Trustee David Vela is on the phone as well. But in the room here, just because we have to make sure to be an example, there's only a few of us here, and we are all with more than 6 feet apart. But in putting this together, this committee, Chancellor Rodriguez and I were on a call a few days ago. We asked students, we said, in preparation for the Innovation, Technology, and Sustainability Committee, which this is, we asked them, on a scale of 1 to 10, right now, where is technology? And Chancellor, what did they say?
10.
They said 10. So for the last few years, we have invested significant amounts of our funds here at the Los Angeles Community College District on improving our technology, making sure Move classes online, making sure all of our email systems were online. And right now, we have heard throughout the district that our technology is stable, but we have a lot to do. And the Board of Trustees, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we have invested a significant amount of money, and right now we're benefiting from that, but we have a lot to improve. So I'm going to introduce, I'm going to say Trustee Hoffman and Vela, would you like to make a comment before we start with our robust agenda?
Sure, thank you. Trustee Welna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks so much for Facebook Living this meeting and for allowing me to join. I'm filling in as a substitute for Trustee Veras. I do have a question. I do see that there are 29 participants. Is there a way to find out exactly who's on the who's participating in the meeting today and who's on the phone? I just see phone numbers. So I was just curious if there's a way to go around and either announce who's here or somehow do some kind of a roll call so we know who's in the room.
Chancellor, could you do with the senior management who's on the line just for Trustee Hoffman?
Sure. If there are members of the LACCD team, can you please unmute and just simply say who you are? And if Albert and Carmen can help manage that, that would be helpful. But just a kind of a quick roll call, please.
It might be a good idea if they just type their name and then Carmen can call it out.
Okay, that'd be great.
Is that
Okay, so why don't you type your name in the chat area, and then we will note that. But thank you for noting that.
And just so the audience knows, just remember that we are on Facebook Live, just for everyone to be aware, and for the live audience to be a little patient with us as we're coordinating a lot of this activity online, and we're learning and we're learning. So if some of the people can announce themselves.
So we have Ryan Corner online, Mary Gallagher, Melinda Nish, Deborah Latier. I'm obviously here, Carmen Liz.
And this is Albert Roman. I'm on the call as well.
This is Jeanette Gordon. I'm on the call as well.
Raul Rodriguez is on the call.
Monty Perez on the call.
I also see Alexis Montevirgen.
And Otto Lee on Zoom. Hi.
Okay. Chancellor Rodriguez, if you could take us through the rest of the agenda.
Yes, happy to, and thank you. I'll just make a few remarks because I do want to get to the conversation and pass it to Vice Chancellor Litz after this, that will give us a presentation on the technology elements and the pervasive way that technology is indeed impacting and assisting us with this massive transition. Now, several weeks ago, we have found ourselves in an unprecedented situation where we, keeping in mind public health and safety considerations, keeping in mind and balancing the needs of students, balancing the needs of faculty and staff, and sustaining this academic calendar to the extent that we could, found ourselves with a very important decision to make. And the decision that we made after an emergency meeting was to indeed extend and suspend classes for the previous week and to move the academic calendar that was called spring break to the week that we are in now. That 2-week, quote-unquote, suspension of classes has been filled with enormous, and I would even say miraculous, transition and incredible work and support and really heavy lift from our faculty and staff, all of our technologists, all those folks who are attempting to move close to 8,500 classes online by next Monday, March the 30th. This is a Herculean feat, and I give my praise and respect and admiration to all those who have put their hearts and attention to this enormous enterprise. About 18% of our courses were already online, so what this does, it provides the remainder, save about 5% of our classes that will go remote beginning on March 30th. We have student FAQs, various ways that faculty are communicating with students to ensure that they have access to and support with the Canvas shell environment so that students on Monday morning can be ready to go. Again, thanks for that. In addition to that, I wanted to point out that Trustee Buelna and others on the phone that we have actually moved to essentially a remote learning environment, as I mentioned, and a remote work environment. And we've moved literally thousands of staff. We have about 10,000 employees at any one point that in our district, employees and student workers into a remote environment. And we'll get into much more detail in the agenda. And again, very, very pleased that we've been able to do that with the tremendous support of our IT folks and everyone else who's on the phone to make this transition just as smooth as possible. So we are in unpredictable, fluid, and dynamic times. I'm going to call upon everyone to extend a courtesy, to extend flexibility, support, and again, energy as we move forward in an unprecedented environment to sustain and really save our academic calendar for the benefit of students. So with that, I'll pass it back to Trustee Buelna.
So I wanted to quickly read. I know the agenda is here, but we went through it specifically. The purpose of today is to provide an update and opportunity to discuss the various ways that the Los Angeles Community College District is responding again to the unprecedented and fluid public health emergency known as the coronavirus 19. We wanted to be very clear also that our audience and who we're speaking, who we want to speak to, LACCD faculty, our staff, students, administrators, the general public, and the media. We want you to have a sense of what we've been thinking with regard to issues related to technology, sustainability, and innovation here at the district. In terms of framing some of the themes, we've put some words out there that we feel are very important. Paradigm shift, strategic modeling, some of the unintended consequences, conflict with ambiguity, change management, innovation, ethic of care, social networking platforms, sustainability. We're putting some of these themes and words out there because as we're going through this, we want to make sure that we're overall encompassing where we need to be moving and thinking, and that you as a public and as our constituency know that we're headed in some of these directions. And if we're missing something during this presentation or afterwards, we will set up emails or ways to have that feedback loop. Chancellor, I turn it back to you.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Buona. Okay, so with that wonderful introduction, and thank you for sharing the framing, the conversation. Though I can recall when we were thinking about what the kinds of the constructs that would be that we should be mindful of as we navigate this fluid environment. That those indeed are, I think, many important concepts that we will move forward in our discussion today. So thank you for that. Okay, let me turn it now to Vice Chancellor Carmen Litz. Ms. Litz serves as our Chief Information Officer and is leading the way in the technology area. So Ms. Litz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chancellor, and thank you, Trustee Buona. I'm going to ask Albert to please bring my slides up. So this is not your typical presentation for a committee meeting. I had planned for this meeting, please move on, Albert. I had planned for this meeting to present you with an overview of our technology plan and how we are moving forward for the next 18 months to 3 years. We have obviously changed the goal of this meeting, but I wanted to start from the mission of my organization. So our Office of Information Technology, the mission is to provide district-wide information technology services which support our educational community and foster the success of our students. Now, in face of COVID-19 health emergency, we asked ourselves, how do we do that in this new environment? So we looked at all of our teams, everything that we do, from the technology provided at the college level to our web services and academic technologies, administrative applications, our infrastructure, our information security, our projects, and then how do we provide customer service delivery to our district. And looking forward, our slide 4, please. Looking forward and looking at our technology plan at a glance, at the core, our goals remain the same. We still want to make student-centric investments. We still want to have technology modernization, stability and security of our core infrastructure. We want to provide effective administrative operations through technology. We want to have a disciplined, high-caliber technology support. We want to have comprehensive technology adoption through continuous training, and we have to continue to innovate. So our goals at the core remain the same. It's how we go about doing it. So here is how we plan to go to move some of these items methodically. We find ourselves in the COVID-19 health emergency, in lieu of the situations that we find in, to have to accelerate a lot of our already planned foundational things. Some of the things we are possible to accelerate pretty quickly, and some of the items we are not going to be able to accelerate. So let me walk you through what our plan has been. Our first priority has been to get everyone online and connected to ensure that they stay home safe. In order to do that, we had to focus on equipping every student, faculty, and staff that can operate remotely. Secondly, we had to connect everyone, either via the internet or securely. We had to ensure that we have a support mechanism for that. The second priority, roll out applications and tools in support of this remote activity, both for the academic side as well as for the business operations. And number three, strengthen our infrastructure. With the move to having operations in a remote environment, our connectivity load has increased. The storage and backup from a resilience perspective had to be considered. And of course, there are the security considerations that have to be taken in this new environment setup. So let's take it step by step. Step one, Albert, if you may. Step one, getting everyone online and connected. The equipment has been, I would say, the first priority moving through last week. Our current operations are over 90% of our people are working from a desktop PC. So LACCD was not situated for a remote or mobile working for business functions. We had, for our students, and I apologize for still the note there to verify with Larry and Michael. We did verify with Larry and Michael. We're moving so fast, so I apologize for the less than perfect slide. We had some equipment left over from the College Promise. We have moved really quickly as an organization to reassign those to students at the campuses as needed. We had 300 Chromebooks distributed, and there are an additional 3,000 Chromebooks being processed through the foundation, the next gen process. So students are going to request a machine through the student portal. The application is going to be processed through Michael Fuller's team, and a communication is being sent to them as to where to go and how to pick up the equipment. There has been additional funding received by the foundation to procure more equipment as needed. So that is being managed through the foundation. For the faculty, we have received an initial 1,248 units available for distribution. We have more on order. We have distributed the first set of 100 to 160 per college as per their needs, and they are going to distribute those to the faculty at the college level. Those are being organized in a fashion that is consistent with our social distancing, and whenever possible, ensuring that people do not actually have to even get out of their cars. For staff, we have had an initial...
Excuse me for a second. If there's some people, if you can mute your phone.
There is a lot of background noise. Okay. For staff, we have currently 700 Chromebooks. An initial 200 Chromebooks has been distributed. When this announcement first started, we did not know what the next day was going to bring. So our first thought was to get whatever equipment we had on hand to the people that were performing essential functions. This has not been considered from a hierarchical perspective. They were the people that we are going to need for essential critical functions. So, for emergency procurement, for emergency facility, health and safety, what have you. We are receiving the remainder of 500 Chromebooks out of the 700 tomorrow, and we will continue the distribution. We also have received 314 laptops, and 82 actually have just arrived this morning. So we've received the 314 and the 82, as well as the 50 specialized laptops for IT, and we are distributing those to the people that require the more processing power and additional compute. Also, we have an order for tutors, 100 drawing tablets and pens. So we continue to work with our suppliers to get equipment. We have had challenges with the delivery and the supply chain. in a lot of different states. Either the equipment is not available nearby, the ETA dates have not always been met. Last week we were having a hard time getting communication from the delivery services. We found very successful working with a couple of our small local vendors, distributors, that have been willing to even drive the equipment to our facility using their own trucks. So we have had an abundance of support from our local partners, so I want to take this opportunity to thank them for that. Moving on to the next step has been the connectivity. In connectivity, we look at it in two frames: basic internet connectivity and secure connectivity. Basic internet connectivity, looking at it from a student perspective, we sent out a survey to our students. We received about a 10% response rate on the survey. And out of the 10% of the students that responded, only 4% identified that they do not currently have internet connectivity outside of LACCD. We did not ask them with regards to where that connectivity would be, just outside of LACCD. We have tried to find some options for them, and we have published information regarding Wi-Fi options and internet options that are provided through commercial partners that provide free internet for households for education purposes. So Charter Spectrum, Comcast, Xfinity are some of those options. Those are not provided through LACCD, but we did provide the information on our website for the students and their families that require it. For faculty, we had very few faculty that expressed the need for extra internet connectivity. Most of them seem to have it at home. They can access the same resources as the students. From staff, we did not get any requests for internet connectivity needs at their place where they are staying at home. From a secure remote network access for staff, initially we've prioritized the top 20 people per college and have begun setting up the remote network access for those staff. Once we complete the first 20 per college, we continue provisioning access for staff access by functional area. This is in progress and is being prioritized for those areas that have been deemed as essential functions for the colleges to continue to perform. So things like procurement, payroll, the HR functions are going to take precedence. Moving on to support. Still, in our effort to get everyone online and stay home safe, we have introduced a support service desk. We have an IT support desk district-wide. For students, they can continue to call our phone support at 844-MY-LACCD. We also introduced an email address, studenthelp@laccd.edu. This is fielded through our EPI team. So I want to give a great thanks to Betsy Regalado and her team for being all hands on deck to get our students the support that they need. We introduced new for faculty and staff an email support for non-urgent issues, or frankly for all of the issues, and phone support only for urgent issues. At this point, we have only publicized the email support, and we are asking faculty and staff to use the tech support email addresses whenever possible, and the phone support only for emergency purposes. At this point, we only have 2 people per college that are answering the phones. So let's leave the phone support for the true emergencies at the colleges. The phone support will be turned on next week with the start of classes. The back end perspective from an IT has been very exciting. We've created a single IT support website. We are going to use that for contact information for support. We are going to publish there our frequently asked questions, support guides, training materials, etc. We've implemented a lightweight ticketing system that is helping with the fielding, tracking, and monitoring of support requests district-wide. And we established a technology support model with a district-wide Tier 1 and Tier 2 escalation for specialized support. And we had a crash course in using the IT support technology system all in a week. So these have been our efforts to get everyone online and connected. We are continuing to work through this, and I'm sure that that there will be a little bit of a learning curve. So we'll work through it. Step number 2, we have worked to roll out solutions and tools in support of remote activity. From an academic perspective, our distance education has definitely had a leg up on this, and we have learned from the things that they work really well for the distance education and try to expand that to everywhere else. And the number one item that is used by our distance education is obviously our learning management system, Canvas. We've immediately created Canvas Shell for all the courses in the district. That was about an additional 4,500 to 5,000 courses. Created profiles for all the instructors that did not have a Canvas account. Updated the new courses and got that already pretty much within the first couple of days. Cranium Cafe was enabled. This is primarily used by counselors. So we introduced single sign-on for them so they don't have any difficulty logging in, and also coordinated and configured the integration between Cranium Cafe with Canvas. One of the things that I think every single higher education institution is doing is enabling Zoom. So we worked with the State Chancellor's office and enabled 7,000 pro licenses for our faculty and staff. A pro license allows the faculty member or the staff to have unlimited time in a meeting and up to 300 attendees. So these accounts are self-provisioned. We've created instructions and distributed to all of our faculty and staff. We have found that we had one day where we had over 2,000 accounts created. So it's been heavily adopted by our faculty and staff, and we are really happy that is going to work out for our lecturers. Training has been provided for Canvas, Cranium Cafe, and Zoom coordinated through Dr. Ryan Corner's office with the colleges. And he can speak a little bit more on that if it's necessary. Labster, we procured Labster to use for lab capabilities online. The implementation is this week. I do believe we gave the go-ahead to roll this out last night. So we should have this all ready for Monday when the faculty are on board. There are additional tools that are being considered. Proctoria for online test taking, Turnitin for anti-plagiarism is being currently discussed by our district academic senate with Dr. Ryan Corner's team. Blackboard Ally is it's a tool that improves our accessibility, closed captioning tools. There are a lot of requests that are being fielded and reviewed through the district academic senate and Dr. Corner's office. And just as soon as we get the requests, we add them to the queue and we work through the implementation to ensure that we enable as many of these important tools that our faculty need for the teaching and learning purposes. From a business support functions, we have looked at what functions can we provide to our staff to operate remotely. One area that we looked at is our SAP function. So in collaboration with our budget and finance office, we performed an analysis of the functions that we have in our enterprise resource planning system and looked at all of the non-sensitive functions. And what we mean by non-sensitive functions are functions that are not revealing PII information or financial information that is deemed sensitive. So all non-sensitive functions have been moved to the external portal. The external portal is available for the internet. Training materials for navigation and communication to all of the staff is underway. I believe it will happen today.
Carmen, can I ask a very quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes you're using acronyms, and what is PII?
Personal identifiable information.
Okay,
so
thank you.
Social security numbers and things of that nature. My apologies.
No worries. Thank you so much.
I will try to be a little more mindful of acronyms.
That's okay.
Let's use the CNN rules.
Will do. So we were trying to make sure that in our efforts to provide more functionality online, we are still very, very mindful of the responsibility that we have to our students and to our staff to keep their data secure and keep our information protected. Digital signature is another area where we are looking to have an implementation quickly. The procurement is in progress, and we believe that we can actually complete this in a couple of days within the completion of procurement. Another area of deep conversation right now is time and attendance. There are discussions underway between our HR, payroll, and a lot of the executive management teams of the colleges and what is the best way for us to move time and attendance electronically. We have 4 sites that do their time electronically. The rest of the sites still use paper processes. So this is a top priority for our HR, payroll, and for our management team to move forward with. We are waiting for their guidance. As soon as we have direction from a technology perspective, we'll enable it. SAP HR, we've just had the board approval last week. We would like to enable that for our HR team as soon as possible. So we are continuing to have the contract negotiations so we can start the implementation of SAP success factors for our HR team. And we are doing a lot of work on the website, ensuring that we have PRA, COVID-19 emergency communications, and frankly, that we have all of the channels of communications in sync between all of our colleges, so all of our students, faculty, and staff are receiving consistent information across the district. Last but not least, and very important for me and my team, is ensuring that we strengthen our infrastructure to support the operations in this remote, in this state, and broadly. So obviously we had to build out our VPN. We are working. We found that the variety that our colleges use a variety of different standards, and that made our job in enabling the remote connectivity a little bit more difficult. For the immediate state, we built out whatever infrastructure was necessary for us to ensure that we have a way to enable our faculty and particularly our staff from a secure VPN connection to access the tools that they need still at the college. However, we are going to establish a consistent standard and deploy holistically, and we are working to simplify the network design so VPN has the necessary access across the campus and across the district, and we don't have to have several infrastructure setups and standards at each college. From a resiliency, we are working to increase the storage for email, for SharePoint, and definitely make sure that we have proper backups for critical systems. As people are going to be remote, they are going to require to have more of their files in a cloud environment so they can access them remotely. So we are looking to make sure that we have that space for them to do it. Even with Zoom recordings, for example, the video recordings take a lot of space. So even for things like recording our meetings and saving them somewhere, we need to ensure that we have space for that. And from a security perspective, we are definitely trying to make sure that every change that we are introducing is being adequately vetted to ensure that we meet at least the minimum security standards that our institution has. So we're trying to move swiftly, but we are doing our due diligence even in this very agile, very fast-moving environment. And also, that goes for every new technology purchase, any new contract, any new change that we are making to our environment. And we are starting discussions, and we will continue discussions and explorations with our infrastructure partners. Currently, we're discussing with Birdie Associates, as well as, so that's a small partner, and Amazon, that's a large partner. So we are using all of our partners to help us and accelerate strengthening our infrastructure. Before I move to the challenges, which is the next section, I want to highlight that my team, our IT organization across the district, has been very committed to all of these areas that we've been working on. They have been very dedicated, and they have put their best efforts forward to move this institution to the online environment. I am humbled by the level of support that I received from my team, and the level of commitment and dedication. I could not be more proud to lead such a team. So thank you, team. So if I may take a couple more minutes to talk about the challenges that we have faced, and then I'll open it to questions. In terms of challenges from an organizational perspective, obviously everybody knows we've been going through a reorganization, so our teams are not quite fully formed. So we've leveraged the regional managers as means of communications to the teams on the colleges. Our skill set, we're not prepared to support online, and we found that we just didn't have quite enough people so far. So we are working with our HR, with our personnel commission, with our AFT 1521A leadership to look at ways for us to strengthen our teams and have supplemental resources for us to move these efforts forward in a very accelerated fashion. From a technology infrastructure, I've already mentioned the reliance on the machines that are located in people's desks instead of laptops or other mobile Chromebooks or other mobile devices. Some of our infrastructure is fragile and aging, and the inconsistency between the colleges brings about having to solve for multiple troubles rather than having one solution district-wide. And external factors, the suppliers and distribution, we are continuing to experience delays in supply chain, and we we don't necessarily right now have our choice of the best equipment that we would want to have. So Chromebooks have been the most widely available, so that's what we have the most of in terms of actually getting more of wider selection. That is being somewhat limited right now. We're with delivery dates a couple of months out. So we are being forced to work with whatever we are able to obtain through our supply chain. And then on the infrastructure side, we have had we have had less desire for subject matter experts to come on site for assessment or their ability to do so. So that concludes my presentation. I know I spoke really fast, but if there are any questions, please, I'll be happy to answer it.
I'm sure there are questions.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Dr. Well. Now, let's start with our trustees. Board President Hoffman, do you have any questions or reactions? Then we'll go to Trustee
I have
Bell.
reactions. First of all, Carmen, that was a fabulous presentation and very thorough. Thank you so much. Welcome to LACCD. We've kind of got thrown into it here. And I really, really appreciate the presentation. I do have one just very quick question, and I know there are lots of technology challenges that are sort of out of our hands, such as with Cranium Cafe. I know that they crash a lot, and I'm on their listserv, and that has nothing to do with the kind of support that we're providing. But we only have 2 people able to answer calls currently. Are we looking to expand that, and can people do that kind of work remotely?
Yes, so right now I have 20% of my staff are still in person. They 1 or 2 people at the colleges, and then I have a team of 8 people here at the ESC that are helping with the tagging and provisioning of the machines that are being distributed out. So I moved the operations otherwise entirely remote. So all of our developers, all of our folks that are fielding the support requests are doing that remotely. We do have more support teams available. They are just fielding the requests that come in through the email. So,
okay, great. So, and the phone calls are for people who just really are challenged and need to talk to somebody.
Talk to someone, yes. We also have the ability to remotely access a person's machine. So remotely, it's basically we're sending them a link, and then they click on it, and then the IT support person is able to remote into their machine to actually see what's happening on their computer.
A lot of us like that.
Yeah, and how many, so VPN is, I know, an issue. Do we have enough VPN access for everyone who needs VPN access? And do counselors necessarily have to have VPN access?
So we are trying to make sure that the people that require actual access to the sensitive information are being prioritized over the people that think that they need access to VPN. In terms of licenses, we have plenty of licenses. Our vendors have listed their license limits. So from a licensing perspective, we are okay. The concerns that we have are tied to our infrastructure, are tied to security, and are tied to the ability to support the external load. So we're trying to be mindful of how we roll that out, so we are not putting at risk unnecessarily for the people that actually don't need that type of access. And secondly, that we are not taxing our infrastructure unnecessarily.
Thank you. You and your team deserve big compliments and a round of applause. Great job, and thank your team so much for their hard work. I'm sure everyone's working around the clock, so thank you. No more questions.
They are, yes.
Trustee Vela?
I don't have any question as much as, Carmen, you know that obviously we have a lot of faith in you. We do, and at least I can speak for myself and several of my colleagues that, this is a time to take advantage of, our resources, from our bond dollars, taking advantage right now that we have the capability and the political support to be able to really revolutionize our infrastructure in order for us to, think outside the box, be able to do interactive courses in the future. One of the things that, I've been looking around and seeing, some cooking classes are being taught over the web, by people's kitchens inside the colleges into their home kitchens. So there's a lot of creative ways. I just wanted to encourage you and embolden you and your team, and to be able to take advantage of those dollars that are there that are meant for us to create the infrastructure, and really looking outside the box so we're not catching up to technology, right? So that 2 years from now we're almost just right there, caught up. I know this district has had its challenges. Technology sometimes is anywhere from 3 to 6 years behind, and it is a big district, but we have. I'm not saying we have all the time in the world. Certainly, I think that we just have. I think the political will and the resources right now to be able to do that and have the students experience so that they could let their family and friends know about the positive experience they have been in learning in our district remotely. Thank you.
From the presidents, how is what you heard? How is it translating onto the campuses and faculty staff with regard to some of the topics that Vice Chancellor Litz just mentioned?
Trustee Brona, this is Otto Lee from Harbor College.
Go ahead, Otto.
Yes, it is going very well, and I most of all, I appreciate not just the expertise, but Dr. Litz's approach, strategy, if you will, because there are just so many different things that require different expertise, different mindset, from how to distribute computers, effectively to the right staff, to the right faculty, as well as a lot of the technological things that she described, access, firewalls and stuff. And she has, and her team has prioritized it. And in our case, it's perfectly aligned with our prioritization. So we can march through it very methodically and say, let's take care of priority number 1 today, and then 2 days from now we'll take care of number 2. And where each of those, we can do as many as we can simultaneously, such as distribution and getting it to our faculty. But some of the other things that are technology oriented, we'll have to be a little bit patient, and we're doing workarounds. People are coming onto campus to solve that kind of the in-person way, but we're maintaining social distance, we're staggering their schedules, and making sure they're somewhat isolated in their work environment. So it is working well at Harbor.
Thank you, President Lee. Any other president?
This is Alexa.
Mary, why don't you go?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to weigh in here as well. Things are going amazingly well to me at City, and the faculty seem well situated. While we still need to help some students with some devices and some internet, we've been getting great information from the district, and really the information flow and the action with which we've been able to address some of the challenges people have that's short of remarkable. And that's because of the team at the district who has put a tremendous amount of effort into making sure that all bases are covered. And I want to say, with regard to Vice Chancellor Litz, I just have to say that with everything that she has had to do since she walked into the district, don't run away, please. But also, she does it with such a calm demeanor and a manner that it helps you not to worry. I'm not worried about this because the reaction to the things that we've needed has been so swift and so comprehensive that I just want to thank everybody for everything they've done. This almost seemed 3 weeks ago like there wouldn't be a way for us to do it, and here we are. We're going to start all of this on Monday. So I thank everybody, in particular Vice Chancellor Litz and Chancellor Rodriguez for his leadership on this.
Thank you. President Montevirgen?
Thank you, Trustee Buelna. I will echo what Otto and Mary have already shared, but also I want to add that our faculty have definitely risen to the challenge ahead of them, and I am hopeful that when we launch, in fact, some of the things in particular that I'd like to highlight is the fact that even amongst a lot of our CTE programs, we have CTE instructors that have come up with very innovative ways where one would initially have thought that for a lot of our CTE programs, one would say, well, those can't go remotely by nature of the work that they're doing. But our faculty have actually stepped up and come up with their own suggestions, which we are now beginning to try and implement in order to go as much remote as possible, understanding that there are still certain things, though, that will still need to be done in person. But again, just to also highlight and thank our IT folks for working with our faculty to explore those different options that they are coming up with.
Is there any president?
Buenas, Monte Perez.
Dr. Perez, ¿qué pasó?
Just wanted, from a student perspective, it's really gone pretty well. Of course, there's a lot of questions. We are deploying as many of our classified and student workers and student services, contacting students over the phone and answering all the questions. And that has really helped. The foundation distribution of the laptops or Chromebooks have been very, very helpful. And all the other support services necessary. The key is we don't want to lose students. Many of them are saying, or some of them that, they want to withdraw now because they don't know if they got the support they need. So the more we can support our students to feel safe and they can finish their education, that's our goal. And I think the district's been communicating that, so have the colleges.
Thank you very much. Before we move on,
I just wanted really quick, this is David again, just back up Monty's comment and then mention to, I really encourage the, intersection and outreach into our communications department with Melinda Nish and William Boyer in order to communicate all of these technology platforms. I know you've already been doing it, but also I've asked communications to get more robust on how we communicate through social media. And so any way that maybe we can get some help, some, beta, software, whatever, in order to help us with social media to get the word out to our students who have mentioned, I know that they've mentioned to the Chancellor when he met with the students in regards to communicating through the social media platforms. And then second of all, ensuring that and making sure that we use social media for our students, and then communicating to them in that manner. I think I agree with Monte. I've heard about the, students not having a lot of confidence, but I think if we were to, continue to communicate all this good news, not just through press releases, but through individual accounts, there are ways to do boosts. There are ways to do on Facebook. There are ways to buy ads on both Facebook and other social media, which I've seen some of them from each college. So kudos to you colleges, and maybe it is your purview to be able to communicate through your own social media platforms what good is being done here in order to streamline our online experience. Thank you.
Trustee Vela, we're going to touch on that very quickly. Before we move on, I just want to be very clear from the Board of Trustees that we've been very, very clear in our communication with the Chancellor that we expect deliberate, precise, and the highest possible attention to technology to make sure that our students receive the highest level of any higher education institution. And it's important for everyone to understand that we are very, very clear about that. It is not an accident that we're going through this work. Our expectations are absolutely the highest, and we are communicating that in an extremely, what would you say, Chancellor? Consistent basis to make sure that no error occurs in our technology, because we will not be happy trustees. Chancellor, back to you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the support from you and all the members of the Board of Trustees. Let's now flip to item 2 or item 3 in our agenda related to innovation. And clearly, the student voice has been incredibly important in this matter. Thankfully, we've had excellent support from our ASO leaderships at Valley College, West LA, Trade Tech, Mission College, and Southwest, just to name a few, where some of the student leaders have been giving us absolute insight as to their experience as we transition through this particular health emergency crisis that we find ourselves in, but not an educational crisis. Now let me move forward and now introduce William Boyer. He directs our district's communication and external affairs, and he will talk to us about how the district is proactively using social media and other means to communicate to our various publics and to the LACCD community. William?
Thank you, Chancellor. Committee Chair Buena, Board Trustee President Hoffman, other trustees, and those on the phone. Good afternoon. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for anyone to watch on Zoom this afternoon. I apologize about that. But you can hear my voice, hopefully, and those that are watching us on Facebook Live can see me as well. So a couple of things, if I could, please. I wish you could see what this room looks like right now with the technology that we're using. We have a 3-camera setup in here with a switcher and production crew in here to do a Facebook Live stream. I believe actually this is probably one of the first times we have done such an elaborate setup. We have done lots of other Facebook Live streams with the single camera setup, both at the district level as well as at the colleges for a variety of events. So I do want to also thank what I heard some of the comments from our presidents and from our technology folks in terms of the website and the content. That content is being driven by the communications folks, the PIO team. I'm very grateful for their support during this time as well. We have been pushing out an awful lot of content, and we depend heavily on the IT folks to help us in support of that backbone infrastructure for the website. That is a key 24/7, non-stop, primary way that we are communicating with the world on this. Not only our LACCD community, but the entire world has the availability to come and look at the important information in terms of our service to our community, to our students, to faculty and staff. So that continues to be a key component of the way we are communicating. The other, of course, is the tremendous amount of work that we're doing with the social media platforms. Our primary platforms continue to be kind of almost the trifecta of the traditional social media that's out there: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But we are also using other platforms as well. We've been using Snap on occasion. We use LinkedIn. We use a variety of social media platforms, but those are the primary ones right now. Just as an example, before this meeting, I came in today, and before I came into the meeting today, I looked at some of our, actually all of our social media Facebook accounts for the district and the colleges. And you look at the amount of likes or followers that you have. Collectively, we're reaching about 100,000 people on our Facebook accounts. If you add up all the numbers right now, 100,000 people have the opportunity to be getting our information, and that continues to grow every day. And that's just Facebook. That does not include Twitter or Instagram, which we are also pushing out a lot of information on. It's through innovative uses of Facebook live stream. It's the cooperation of the colleges and with the district to almost simultaneously in real time pushing out the information. When we push out a news release here at the district, it goes to the PIO team, and they are on it, and they are pushing it out on their Facebook pages and using it on Twitter almost virtually in real time. Once I push the button here, they're getting it. They're on standby alert to get that information. Facebook is such a valuable tool because it allows us, all social media, it allows us to reach into to the community unfettered and unfiltered. We are able to get our messages out directly through the social media platform with as much content as we want. And in a large part, it's free. Those platforms are free to us to use. The backbone and technology behind it and the staffing involved in it, of course, there's additional costs there. But using those platforms right now have been free, and it's a valuable way. It's a critical way that we are communicating on around the clock, really, with our students, our faculty and staff, the news media, and the public. I want to just also give a prime example of the power of what I'm talking about here. When we had our laptop distribution here at the district headquarters on Sunday, this past Sunday, and I was pushing out tweets on Twitter and Facebook posts, that generated a lot of interest, not only amongst the public, but it also generated media interest. We wound up on the website of Good Morning America, on their website with our information about how we are servicing and providing for our students in their hour of need in this monumental transition to online work. So there is an incredible amount of following that's being done, a credible amount of interest in what we are producing, and social media is one of our key tools in our communication toolbox. That's all I have to say at the moment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Well, may I add just a couple more points?
Sure.
If you could stay there for a second, William. What we're trying to do in a district, and are doing, I think, very successfully, in a district of our size and reach, and that is to provide a consistent message. So there's quite a bit that's cured here, if you will, and then pushed out to the colleges, and then they add their custom messages that is added to the sort of basic and clear and consistent information to each of the colleges. Now that slows it down just a bit, but we believe overall it provides for a clear and consistent message. I'd like William to talk about the COVID-19 special web page, if you will, on our front page, and then the various components of it as a way to provide consistent information and a one-stop shop for everything, and the different buttons for the different constituencies. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yes, Chancellor, thank you for that opportunity. I had been focusing my comments primarily on social media, but this is a great opportunity to expand on that, so thank you. We have put onto our website special pages for the coronavirus response that we are doing. And what we found...
Percy, can you mute, please? If you're on the line, please mute. Thank you.
Yeah, we might need to have to go back to having him mute for everybody. That might be a better way. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. So what we found is that initially we were way out and doing a lot of outreach already and information on the college's websites and the district website. We immediately recognized the need to consolidate the message, to have a single voice concept of messaging so that everyone had the same type of information that could also be created in a kind of almost a modular way that the colleges could take the core message that we develop and then customize that with a special note from the presidents or from an appropriate staff person. So that's kind of what happened there with some of those messaging. We then looked at the websites. And the websites, we determined the best streamlined approach for efficiency of delivery of information to our stakeholder groups was to take and create special pages with our IT's help within the website for the main district website. And of course, that is www.laccd.edu. And right on that home page, you will see almost in the center of the page a clickable icon that says coronavirus or Corona-19. And from there, you go to a series of pages that we've gotten so much information that we've actually been curating that content with multiple pages. So right now there's a main page for coronavirus information, and it gets updated several times a day. Then we have an FAQ page. Then we have a special page for faculty and staff, one for students, one regarding specific health information, and then we're also now beginning to populate that with special pages in Spanish as well. I just actually earlier this morning got a lot of content that we'll be posting later today that duplicates the English language versions in Spanish, and we'll be getting that up today. So the important thing there is also to remember that in cooperation with the colleges, we have gotten postings or links on every single page within the college's own websites and within the district's websites that all point to that main coronavirus page. So there's consistency in the information, and we keep telling faculty, students, staff, the public, the news media, go to that page. That's where you're going to find the most current information in cooperation with the colleges, our Emergency Operations Center, and here at the district and the chancellor. That's the one-stop shop for information.
Now, one last thing if you could address, and this is very important also to understand, we have had 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 at LACCD, and it's important that that information, when it is communicated to the colleges, that it's done in a very clear, consistent, and a way that is understood to the college community. And we've had several suspected cases, and again, we have a protocol involved with that. Dr. Nish, who directs our Emergency Operations Center, can address that if you'd like in more detail, but it's also a role of communications to ensure that we put the tools in the hands of the presidents so that they can communicate clearly, just as swiftly as we can, an accurate message of what to do. Communication is clear and indeed one that provides good support. So.
Yes, Chancellor, thank you for that. That's a function that came out of our Emergency Operations Center under the leadership of the Chancellor and the Deputy Chancellor. We recognize the need to have a consistent single voice type of message that as these cases begin to occur, and unfortunately to continue to occur a little bit more frequently for us, that the presidents and their PIOs and their VPs had basically a good-to-go message that all of them can use, and that they can specifically put a new paragraph on top with the particular details that are pertinent to their particular incident. But the message has been blessed. It's good for them to use at any time that they need to, except for that fine level of detail in terms of what specific building that maybe the incident occurred, the date and the time. And so they take that message, they're able to tweak it just a little bit on the top of that and then put it on their letterhead or in their own individual messaging platforms, particular for their college, so that and that's what I will digress just a minute. That's one of the key messaging points that we've also learned in social media and as well as in other communications. A lot of our faculty, students, and staff are more accustomed to getting messages from their college, and they recognize the president's name. They recognize the name and the logo of their college, and they're far more acceptable and will readily more open that than they see something directly from the district. We recognize that as well, and so we've been working very hard to create some of these modular information templates that can be used for emergency public information purposes.
Excellent. William, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to move on now.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Move on now to 3B, and continuing on our communications protocols. and ask Dr. Melinda Nish to join us and to lead this part of the conversation about communication during protocols, and say a little bit more about the EOC, how it's structured, and how it's assisting us to provide a coordinated response during this public health emergency. Dr. Nish?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chancellor. Good afternoon, trustees, Board President Hoffman, Vice President Wilna, Trustee Bella, and of course, Chancellor Rodriguez. I am joining you remotely via Zoom, and I welcome the opportunity to discuss with you the communication protocol we've put into place. As you recall, a week ago, the district declared an emergency, and we immediately set up an Emergency Operations Center, or an EOC. And it conforms with the Standardized Emergency Management System, or SEMS. It utilizes an Incident Command System, or ICS structure, which also corresponds with NIMS, the National Incident Management System. So we've put into place a structure that has been created through the state of California and nationally to be able to deal with an emergency. Of course, we've never practiced or imagined that we would be dealing with this type of emergency, but a lot of the principles are the same, whether it's a fire, an earthquake, or in this pandemic. I'm currently serving as your EOC director. William Ramirez is the deputy as well as the safety officer. When you are in an emergency situation, all communications, particularly those that go to the external entities, go through your public information officer. You have a very specific structure for that, and you also create a specific internal structure for communications. And you've heard William Boyer, who is our EOC PIO, describe some of the things we've been doing. One of the innovative things that we have done in this EC is to figure out how we're going to work in this large 9-college district. The EOC is operating at the district level, but every single one of the colleges has stood up an ICC, an Incident Command Center that coordinates with the EOC. Hence the need to have really clear communications. And so we have thought a lot about how to do this. When we set up the EOC, we had sort of a test run on Wednesday morning of last week. We physically started working in the EOC on Thursday, and then on Thursday, we were given the safer at home order. We had to scramble, and by Friday, we had put our EOC into remote operations, which again then creates a different sort of communication structure. So one of the things that we did that is working well to communicate in this emergency is that our operations section, which includes information technology, set up a ticketing system where we can all come in through the internet into this ticketing system, and all of the communications coming from the colleges and the ESC are coming into this system, and we can track them. So that is a type of innovation that we've laid into this EOC structure. We can operate and communicate in a remote manner. If Albert would allow me to share my screen, I can show you the daily communication protocol that we have with 9 colleges. So Albert, can I go ahead and share screen?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen.
Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is a plan that we developed while we were doing. As we were working last week, we realized that we needed to have clear and constant communications with our colleges between the EOC and the ICC. So what you see on your screen is what we developed after working with our colleges on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, working out on Saturday and Sunday, in fact, reviewing with some emergency operation experts how we could better do this. And we rolled out these guidelines and this plan after some experimentation, and now this is what we're doing on a daily basis. The EOC team operates remotely. We meet at 8 o'clock, and we have a rapid 30-minute situation brief, and then we go into our EOC ICC briefing. This is where everyone in the EOC and all of the incident command centers at the 9 colleges, they have their liaison officer in the Zoom room, and we do another rapid 30 to 45-minute situation brief. We allow all of the ICCs to communicate what the situation is at their college, and then we do a summary of what are the items that the EOC needs to be looking at that day. After then we go back just to the EOC, we debrief, we assign duties to the different sections, and then we let people go to work. I then do a daily briefing, or the deputy does a daily briefing with the chancellor at 10 o'clock. It might be as quick as 10 minutes. It's never longer than 30 minutes to make sure that the chancellor is aware of the situation and district-wide and what's going on at the colleges. The EOC group comes back in another Zoom meeting at noon. We collectively brief on what we've accomplished during the morning and what still needs to be done. We come back at 15:30, 3:30 in the afternoon, and we prep our report for the end of the day and to share with Cabinet. The Chancellor has started an almost daily 4 p.m. Cabinet meeting that's conducted via Zoom, and one of the elements of that meeting is a report from the EOC. And then the EOC formally, we allow our team members to leave at 5 o'clock, but William Ramirez and William Moyer and myself have been certainly not leaving at 5 o'clock. We're putting in hours early and late and over the weekends because we've had a lot of events, and we're working up now a better structure to sustain us for late hours and for weekends. As you can see, we've now proposed a Saturday through Sunday communication schedule. We haven't tested this, but we have so much activity going on. We're going to try this weekend, where we're going to have a smaller skeleton EOC team that will meet in the Zoom room at 10, brief the Chancellor at noon, and do our end-of-day brief at 1600, 4 o'clock. There are additionally 2 meetings that are happening weekly where we are making sure that at those meetings there's coordination with the EOC for communication purposes. You will recall that at your March 4th meeting, I gave you a presentation on COVID-19, and I was directed by the Chancellor on March 2nd to establish a COVID-19 response team. We have probably 30 to 35 members of that team across all the colleges, all the constituencies. We meet weekly every Thursday, and at first, prior to being in an emergency state with an EOC, we had the COVID-19 response team working together in subgroups and creating first passes at action plans. Those were incredibly important because we were able to immediately bring those into the EOC framework and use those to get us going. Now, since we're in an emergency structure and we have an EOC, the COVID-19 response team is more of an information and vetting arena, and it's really important in terms of shared governance and being able to assure that all of constituency elements of our big district have an opportunity to hear information and to give information. So that continues. I continue to facilitate that, and since I'm in the EOC, I can make sure that there's a direct link. The Chancellor has established, as of last Friday, an all-union Zoom meeting starting at 1300 every afternoon, and I'm also listening in on that Zoom meeting to make sure that any information that needs to go through the EOC can effectively be there. This is a kind of a daily
directly way the EOC is communicating with a few other elements for the weekend and a few of the other committees. Before I go on, I'd like to ask if there are any questions at this point about how we're working internally for communications in the EOC.
No questions, Melinda, but excellent work. I love the Zoom room. Next, we're going to have the cone of silence.
Well, in addition to the Zoom room, we have the ticketing system. We set up an EOC group email that we all get. We set up an EOC@laccd.edu email. That is the email that everyone in the district uses to send information regarding COVID-19, and it goes directly into our ticketing system where everyone in the team can get into it and we get it assigned. We also have set up an instant messaging system, which we're kind of testing out to see how that works. And of course, communicated with everyone via our mobile and texting and email. So a lot of different platforms, and we're trying to make sure that we don't overload ourselves.
I have a quick question. How do we get the word out to the county health department? Because I know that, when they get a confirmation, I believe they try to notify the college, correct? Is there a way that we can get them the information so that they can notify the EOC?
Yes, we're working directly with them through our safety officer, William Ramirez.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, it's more of us communicating to them before they communicate to us. They are, quite frankly, overloaded, and so they are generally communicating more directly with the individuals that are being tracked or are actually have tested positive. But we've been doing a good job in working with the county health department and with people who are reporting to us that they are suffering symptoms or they have been tested. And I'll go over that in just a second. If you look at your screen, I'd like you to just look now at what I have scrolled to, and then I'll try to conclude my remarks. I think it's important to understand, what is the EOC doing? What are the priorities of setting up this emergency operations center? Priority one for us is health and safety with respect to the disease. So the top priority of the EOC is that anyone and everyone within our district has a place to communicate any confirmed or suspected COVID-19 exposure or illness. That's our number one priority, and that's why what William Boyer talked about is so important. If we receive a report of suspected exposure or illness, that's an urgent priority for us. It's immediately communicated to myself and to William Ramirez, and William Ramirez, the safety officer, immediately starts research that. And he has a protocol for doing that. Our protocol has changed. Initially, the protocol was we were trying to get confirmation that the person had tested positive through the County Department of Health. That agency has now become overwhelmed and we don't have enough tests. We are now operating with a different type of protocol, which is if that person is experiencing symptoms that are common to COVID-19, we are acting as though that is COVID-19. So this is a little bit of a change in what has happened between even last week and this week. So we track down the information on those cases because often we get false information, but we go, every report we get, we track it down, and if we find that the individual has tested positive or there is every reason to believe that that individual most likely has the disease, then we put into protocol a message. And this, we've worked really hard on this so that we can give the presidents a template that has a common message if we have a suspected case or a confirmed case, and then we work with that college as to what is the level of exposure and will be the next steps. Of course, the employee or the student would be asked to self-quarantine, but now we're even looking at situations where do we need to ask a class or a unit in a college that may need to quarantine. So we have to look at each of those separately, determine what's the best thing to do, and then we need to communicate that out. So that's our number one priority. Our number two priority is to track all expenses that are related to maintaining business continuity that are in response to this disease. And many of the things that Carmen talked to you about are in direct response to this disease because we are trying to rapidly take a large agency and move it into remote delivery of services, academic, student services, and business operations. So this is a large part of what we need to do in the EOC. So that's why the ticket system is very important in communicating, because we need to track these expenses. And we've been working very, very closely with the Chief Financial Officer and our Director of Services at ESC. We have tight communication between the ESC and those operations. Priority 3, these are business or revenue losses that are due to the disease response. These may include things such as loss of enrollment, loss of productivity, or loss of physical assets. As you know, we have our campuses are almost closed. They're closed to the public, and they're almost closed to our employees with only essential workers on the campus. And so we're actually now in a phase where we're protecting the physical property of our campuses. And so that, of course, has been communication with the Sheriff's Department, and we continue to work with them to fine-tune that protection. So that really is where we're at, folks. We are in an emergency. We are operating in a center. There is a communication protocol that you work through that type of structure, and that is what we're doing. We have daily communications, multiple daily communications, and in fact, you can see that it's almost 4 o'clock. We should be going into a cabinet meeting. We should have had an EOC meeting at 15:30 hours, but because of this important ITS meeting, we delayed that today so that we could communicate to you. I'll close by saying that given the state of emergency the board declared last Wednesday, we have worked carefully but quickly to bring extra resources to help us with communication, both internally and in particular externally, and definitely using social media platforms. So we're ramping up. We've got extra resources because we'd like to be getting more communications out, particularly for students and our staff. With that, I'll take any questions that the board members may have.
Before anyone asks any questions, let's remember that we allocated 2 hours, so let's keep the questions brief so we can get answers, so we can hit all the agenda items, so we can finish by 4:30. That's very, very important to us. So if we can move on with questions that are brief so we can get them answered.
I just have a very quick question. This is Trustee Hoffman. Thank you very much, Dr. Nish. That was an excellent presentation, and actually I've been impressed with everyone's presentation from the minute I signed on to this meeting at 2:30. Chancellor, this is such good information. I'm wondering, I know it's being recorded. Are we able to somehow push this out to my colleagues on the board so that they can see the presentation? And also anybody else who would be interested? So yes, Trustee Hoffman, I have a perfect answer for you. At the end of the meeting, I was going to make the request that the link be sent to everyone that has an email within LACCD, that it also be sent to the State Chancellor's office and to our regional, and to also the regional community colleges, along with associated documents. Because we have a little more resources than the other colleges, and we have a responsibility to the region and to our state to protect everyone. So you got ahead of it, but I will repeat those comments also. So everyone will be getting this link. We expect the viewership to this to be around 5,000 to 10,000. Correct, Chancellor?
at least, and make sure that everyone gets this and associated documents. Because again, we just do not have an obligation to our 230,000 students and 30,000 faculty and staff, but to the region, and our state and society in general. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thanks. Then another just quick question. Are our partners in labor on this Zoom meeting? It's really hard to tell because people's names don't show up. They show up as kind of phone numbers. Just want to make sure that they're hearing the information and they were included. So I'll just put it out there. Send a message to the chat if you're here. I just would like to know. Thanks.
Again, the communication message that I've communicated with the Chancellor is to send this to everyone. There isn't one person that the link or associated documents should not be shared with. Right, Chancellor?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, Trustee Vela, any questions, or else we'll move on to our next part of the agenda. Trustee Vela?
Not at this time. I just want to thank you, Melinda, for your report and continued success in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. Excellent report. Thank you, Dr. Nish. Let's move on. Dr. Corner, let me have you fold 3B2, discussions on curricula, and 4B, enrollment in an online environment, maybe beginning there and folding those two so we can make good use of our time together and the time that we have remaining. So Dr. Corner, are you on the line?
We should have allocated 3 hours, but 2 is all right.
Dr. Corner, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you. Please, the floor is yours. You have some prompts there. Let's talk about our transition, massive and impressive transition to an online environment, and then some ideas about how the faculty are getting creative in the innovation space and moving their curricula to an online space. So I know you've been working very closely with the District Academic Senate and with the vice presidents at each of the colleges and other faculty leaders. So please give us a glimpse of the excellent work that's occurring.
Sure. For your suggestion, I'll start with 4B, the enrollment in an online environment. And I want to start by saying that if we had our technology systems we had 3 years ago, none of this would be possible. And so I do want to commend the hard work of IT and everybody who worked to get our student information system up and running 3 years ago, because it's provided a completely web-based environment where students are able to interact, staff are able to interact, and faculty are able to interact without a need of an installed device on their computer. So we have already transitioned into nearly 100% online applications, so we were completely prepared in terms of the enrollment transition. In addition, even our ad cards are digital now. So everything that a student needs to do in terms of enrollment is already up and running in a virtual environment. But I think the bigger question is, how do we continue to encourage students to enroll given the environment that we face? And I'm happy to report out that we've been tracking withdrawals and drops on a daily basis. And to date, we actually have less drops than we did last year and are still ahead in enrollment over the same point in time last year. I think this speaks volumes to our students' commitment to their continued education. And I also think that it shows that they're willing to give us a chance to see how our classes can operate in an online environment and how they can work through this. They've already received the memo about the EWs and refunds that William Boyer has developed, and we still have not seen a large drop-off at students. And I think that's because faculty, administration, and staff have consistently said to students, try to finish your classes and see how we can do this together. And that is the environment we're working in, is doing it together. In terms of enrollment in the future, we do have a summer session coming up, and enrollment will begin in about a month. And right now, the Vice Presidents of Student Services are on a line reviewing a timetable adjusted for what's going on for that enrollment period. And the work will then transition to integrating with the Director of Communications team and seeing how we can engage, interact, and our other partners so that we can do an enrollment push that is satisfactory to what we have going on right now. So I'll say that those have been the core elements that we're working on related to that. Now, in terms of curriculum, I do want to focus on two areas, faculty and students. First of all, I have to give major accolades to the faculty for what the President spoke about earlier, which is ingenuity and innovation. Particularly, I want to thank our DE coordinators who, on a 2-day notice, created a week-long training plan that would meet the needs of all of our faculty who had not yet experienced an online environment for remote learning. And I happened to be at Pierce College on Monday last Monday when we launched that, and I was able to see how many faculty were there actively engaged and trying to make sure that they had the tools to support their students. And it was an amazing sight to see. So I want to thank the faculty and the DE coordinators for working together on that.
Just a minute. Are you still on?
Jeanette, please mute, please. Go ahead, Ryan.
And so the ingenuity and flexibility in curriculum, I do have to say, has been pretty fantastic. The faculty were given a pretty extreme challenge. Imagine what your curriculum would look like if you weren't able to come back to campus this spring, because that was the message we were hearing from the State Chancellor's office and from public health officials. And they really rose to the occasion. Use of technology, simulation labs, and other features that we've been working collectively with Carmen's team on have really allowed for a new venue for student engagement. And I think what we'll see is a lot of those play out over the next few weeks, and our faculty really getting a feel for exactly how well these tools work. On the student side, we've developed videos and outreach as it relates how to get into Canvas. Carmen already mentioned that we have a call center for students where they can make sure that they access their passwords and have assistance in getting into Canvas. I will say this is something that we do every semester for the 4 weeks leading up and the 2 weeks into the semester, but we reactivated it, and we have some amazingly gifted employees in there, some of whom also attend our classes. And they're able to work with our students in 3 different languages and have really been fantastic at troubleshooting what students have. We also have the 24/7 helpline for both faculty and students related to Canvas, which was gratefully extended by the state. And we definitely have seen all these ingenuities play out and give our students and our faculty a good platform to start with. So I'm excited to see how things will continue to play out.
Vice Chancellor Coroner, how are student athletes and athletics in general working during this time period, or will be working?
The answer is not much. Unfortunately, the CCCAA, which is the California Community College Athletics Association, suspended competition and workouts. I did communicate with their chair yesterday, and they have a meeting on April 4th where they will discuss future guidance. In the meantime, we do have athletics courses that aren't technically the workouts. These are the kinesiology courses that assist students in gaining the skills and the ability to perform well in their athletic environment. And those still continue, and many of them have been converted to a remote model. I think one of the football coaches said to me, whether it be in a huddle or on Zoom, it's still the same instruction, we're just a little further apart. And so I think that really speaks volumes to the faculty having a sensitivity for what the situation is and making sure that they can do the best for the students. So we don't have active workouts, but we do have the athletics courses in kinesiology still running.
One of my concerns about the student athletes and athletics in general is just, and all of our students and faculty and staff is our, in general, mental health. And wondering, in talking about innovation, is there any way that our faculty maybe can share with all of us through a webinar how to deal with athletics in a time of having to stay in place? And I don't know how to do that, and that's why I'm asking, so that we can begin, we will have more conversations about mental health later on, but how some of our faculty can help all of us. But especially, again, we know that the Olympics were moved, and a lot of the athletes are very depressed because their workouts stopped. And this is a really big deal and will affect students for the rest of their lives. So if we could put a little more thought into that, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Well noted.
Should we move on to if there are any questions to chat with the Chancellor?
Okay, so Dr. Corner, was there anything else? Did we finish?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me continue. Be mindful of the time here. This is under, again, 3C. We thought it might be useful to continue this dialogue. We've got an interest in keeping the dialogue alive during this particular time, keeping the communication flowing, ensuring that we can provide good, timely information to our college constituencies, to our district community. And one of the ways that we thought we might be able to do this is some e-chats, in which I would be hosting, if you will, trustees, board president, Dr. Buelna, Trustee Vela, and other trustees, college presidents, leaders of the academic community, student services, our custodians who are doing incredible work right now, and just to find a way to keep this communication going and keep the human aspect of this massive transition and migration to an online platform as we move forward. The fact of the matter is we don't know how long that we will be in this particular circumstance under this particular environment, if you will. So having various elements and stories, the human stories of victory, human stories of transition, and really demonstrating an ethic of care that is so important to this Board of Trustees, to our college presidents, and all of us who are working forward, looking forward and working in a very, very timely manner to try to get as much good information out and to transition. This is about, indeed, transition and change, and some of the themes, Dr. Buelna, that were noted on the first page of this agenda. So I won't say much more than that, other than that we are looking to test that. We have a great crew here that can continue to film, if you will, and post and disseminate good information on a timely basis so that we can make sure that the information flow is current, it's relevant, and keeping people connected during this virtual environment.
Chancellor, during this time period, if you're a student and you can't be on those webinars, how does a student communicate with you or the system if they have a concern? Mm-hmm. How do they do that?
Yeah, well, there's plenty of ways. Most students, if they have a concern, well, first of all, my email is online. Most people have access to my direct email, so they could do that at any point. But if they have other ways of communicating something specific to the college, I will defer that to the college president. If there are other ways to communicate, there are links. There's a chancellor at laccd.edu that they can write to as well, or let anyone, really the college president, if there's something specific to the college. But we'll work with that. I make myself as accessible as possible, and to the extent that I can, respond to them directly. I've done a lot of that in the last few days.
Thank you very much. And I've been on some of those conversations with you as well.
Yes, thank you. Okay. As a matter of fact, yeah, we are having these Tuesdays at noon conversation with student leaders that you have been facilitating. So thank you very much for that. So why don't we move on? Let's now move to Area 4. Chair Buelna, to the area called Legislative Advocacy. I'd like the Administrative Officer to the Chancellor, Maria Veloz, to lead us in the conversation on what's occurring at the federal, state, and local level. As you know, we are positioning our district the best we can for recovery, reconstitution of the kind of funding and really restoration of an environment before COVID-19 so that we can sustain and thrive in our organization in a post-COVID-19 environment. So Maria, can you take it from here?
Yes, I can, Chancellor. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all staying healthy and keeping your distance away from folks. So there has been a lot of activity at the local, state, and federal levels. However, the challenge has been getting information in a timely fashion, given that we're all working remotely. And so we've had to, more than ever, rely on our personal relationships to get information in real time. Nevertheless, I want to give a shout out to Trustee Bella, the legislative committee members, VP Bettis and Trustee Fong, the Chancellor, and our advocates who have been working 24/7 to keep us informed and to advocate on behalf of our district's priorities during this very difficult, unprecedented time. So I had a full presentation, but I realized that we only have 14 minutes left to this meeting. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to skip parts of my presentation and go through the more important parts of my slides here. I'll just say that since the governor issued his stay-at-home order, this had a ripple effect on all government bodies, many of which are still grappling with how to conduct the public business remotely. And with that, at the federal level, the Senate just reached agreement on an unprecedented $2 trillion supplemental bill, the CARES Act. That agreement was reached late last night. It's expected to be voted on tonight or tomorrow morning in the Senate, and then it'll go up for a vote in the House on Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. So this has been just very, very time-consuming, keeping track of all the moving parts there, but we've been very, very much involved trying to get LACCD's priorities inserted in that conversation. On Saturday, March 21st, we submitted a letter to the congressional leadership of both the House and the Senate outlining LACCD's priorities. And we are very pleased that it appears that many of those priorities have been adopted in the final package as we understand it right now. So let me go over some of those priorities. And I'm sorry, I just got this just moments ago. So we are still reviewing the language carefully. But it appears that the higher education is a clear winner in this bill. In the initial proposal, we were expected to see about $6 billion just for higher ed. In the bill that has just been negotiated, that amount jumped to $14 billion. The Department of Education it includes a $30.7 billion package for an education stabilization fund for state school districts and institutions of higher education for costs related to the coronavirus. Governors in each state will receive a share of about $3 billion, and this is flexible discretionary funds for emergency support grants for K-12 as well as emergency support for grants for institutions of higher education. In addition to that, the higher education portion of it is $14.2 billion that will be available for emergency relief to prevent and prepare for and to respond to the coronavirus. Funds will be used to defray expenses for institutions of higher education, such as lost revenue, technology costs, costs associated with transition to distance education, grants to students for food, housing, and course material, technology, healthcare, and childcare. In addition to the higher ed package, the Department of Labor also includes a $360 million allocation through the Department of Labor to invest in programs to provide training and support services for dislocated workers, seniors, migrant workers, and homeless veterans. There's another pot of money, $3.5 billion through the Child Care Development Block Grant This funding will allow child care programs to maintain critical operations, including meeting emergency staffing needs and ensuring first responders and healthcare workers so that they can access child care while they respond to this pandemic. There's also, through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, we have $15.5 billion for funding of SNAP to ensure that all Americans and seniors and children receive the food that they need. There are several other provisions, but I'm not going to go into them because I know we're running out of time, but I did want to mention a few issues as they relate to our students. The bill includes a campus-based aid waiver. It waives the institutional matching requirement for campus-based aid programs and allows institutions to transfer unused work study funds to be used for supplemental grants. In addition, there is a federal work-study qualifying emergency grant, which allows institutions to issue work-study payments to students who are unable to work due to workplace closures, and they would be able to receive that money in lump sums or in payments similar to paychecks. And there's an exclusion from federal Pell Grant duration limit for those students who dropped out of school as a result of COVID-19. It excludes the term from counting towards lifetime Pell eligibility. In addition, there's institutional refund and federal student loan flexibility for those students who dropped out of school as a result of COVID-19. The student is not required to return Pell Grants or federal student loans to the Secretary of Education. And then finally, there's satisfactory progress for students who dropped out of school as a result of COVID-19. The students' grades do not affect the students' federal academic requirement to continue to receive Pell Grants for student loans. So it is a very generous package, and we worked very closely with our federal advocates to identify many of the issues outlined in the bill, and they were very, very aggressive in making sure that those issues rose to the top. Senator Murray was a strong advocate in increasing the amount from the original $6 billion to the $14 that we received. So we're very, very pleased and happy to see that. And we expect for that bill, like I said, to go for a vote on Thursday or Friday in the House. And we may, I don't know if we have the votes for a cloture vote, but we, in that situation, they would go to a voice vote. And Speaker Pelosi anticipates that we have the votes to get the bill passed. So she is very good, as many of you know, counting her votes. So we have confidence that this bill will be approved and on the President's desk very soon. I can go through the state stuff, but I realize it's 4:24. So, Mr. Buelna, would you like for me to go through the state stuff, or?
Can you do it in 1 minute only?
In 1 minute. We have also been working very closely with the state Assembly and Senate budget staff, as well as the leadership staff. We sent a letter to the Speaker's staff on March 16th. What was it? Was it March 16th? I don't remember now. And we also sent a letter on March 24th to the Assembly and Senate budget chairs outlining some of our priorities. And some of those priorities include funding for improved internet functionality, purchase of laptops for students, staff, and faculty, free Wi-Fi access for students, community college district funding backfill due to this unanticipated coronavirus, as well as any potential enrollment drops or student course withdrawal. We also asked for ECE centers to be held harmless due to the unanticipated attendance and enrollment drops. At the local level, we've been working very closely with some of our partners and have established a number of partnerships with some of our homeless advocates, including the Los Angeles Room and Board, Shower of Hope, some of our partners that have been helping us supply food to food pantries, and some private donors such as the Kroger Company. So with that, let me turn it over to you and see if you have any questions.
Trustee Vela, in 10, 20 seconds because of time, is there anything you'd like to, I know you're going through in your committee, but is there anything quickly you'd like to add?
Yeah, we're actually meeting in real time every week. Tuesday is at 8 a.m. with President Hoffman, myself, and all of the brought in the local advocates.
We can't hear you, Trustee Vela.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so just really quick, we're meeting in real time every Tuesday at 8 a.m. to with all of our advocates, not only getting updates, but asking for resources. We've mentioned letters, we've made calls. We're being very aggressive. I've asked them to be very aggressive, both President Hoffman and I, who are on the weekly calls, and they know it's urgent. They know they have to deliver, so it's been so far very smooth. We're going to continue to meet weekly, and then we are having our Legislative and Public Affairs meeting in April, which will be posted as well.
Thank you very much. Chancellor, if we could, on mental health, we've gone over some of that. Can we get to the graduation? And,
yes.
And with regard to the mental health component, what I've urged, and we're looking at potentially external resources that we could utilize from national organizations on best practices with regard to mental health. So I want to make sure that the audience understands that we're not ignoring that at all, and we're working hard on that. But we want to move on to the graduation, be able to take at least a few questions before we close.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Buelna. Earlier, when I first began in my introductory remarks, I talked about going live, if you will, for our online classes, and about 95% of our classes would be able to, roughly to do so on Monday, March the 30th. But about 5% or so, we are temporarily suspending those until May the 4th. That are not easily transferable to an online format. So I wanted to make sure that folks got that date on their mind. Related to that, that assumes that we maintain the academic calendar as is. So as of today, roughly 4:30 on March the 25th, the commencement is still on. It may look different. We're asking students to give us some ideas about how to do that. The Public Health Department may give us may relax the environment, may make it more stringent. We are looking to different ideas as to how we may do a virtual graduation in a way that really sustains the honor, tradition, and real kind of glory that's involved with this incredible student achievement. We want to maintain the sacredness of that particular milestone, but do it in a way that's responsible, keeping in mind public health and safety. So it is still on. We have not made a declaration, proclamation, or policy that we would indeed suspend or modify just yet. It's still on, but it could be modified clearly because of the public health standards. So June 9th, we'll look forward. We got some ideas about how to do that, but I wanted to make sure there was some rumor out there that we had canceled. We have not.
Is there any question from the audience?
A super quick question, since you brought up graduation, and Maria, thank you. That was an excellent presentation. Is all of our admissions and records staff, the critical staff, available remotely, as students will have to be petitioning for graduation?
Yes.
That's a Ryan question, I'm sure. But are we prepared, and is there clear information on our website about how students are supposed to do that?
Yes, we have already been using online versions of petitioning for graduation. So this is just taking the next step. People are working remotely. We're ironing out some fine tuning in terms of access to transcripts that we have only in print versus those that were scanned on our digital system OnBase. And we're working through those right now with Betsy Regalado taking the lead, and we should have them all settled prior to the petitioning time frame.
Fantastic, thanks.
Is there anything that hasn't been said with regard to graduation or the fact that it has not been canceled, but we're trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do? And we are observing everything that's occurred, including some of the reactions to what occurred at UCLA. So is there any additional comment or question that might be helpful? Okay. Seeing none, Chancellor, I think we probably, let's maybe take about 3 questions.
Sure, okay. So Carmen, Albert, can you help us? We'll take about 3 questions. If there's been areas that we've not yet touched on or clarification needed, can you forward? We apologize for not being able to get to more, but we do want to take at least 3 questions. Albert, can you help us with that?
Chancellor, there's no questions currently on the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Close this out.
Yeah. Trustee Hoffman and Vela, could we have a 10-second closing remark? If you have one.
Oh, thank you. I just really appreciated the opportunity to participate in the meeting today. Excellent work, everyone. Thank you. This was so informative. Keep up the good work. I know it's been a lot of long days and long hours. Dr. Buelna, you did an excellent job in chairing this meeting, and the content of the meeting was superb. So thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Trustee Vela?
Yeah, Trustee Buelna, thank you so much for your leadership in this. Thank you very much, Chancellor, President Hoffman. I do want to emphasize to our team there that, you know, we also, as much as we want to, you know, pat ourselves in the back, and that's really a good thing, what we're doing. Always let's listen to the voice of our students and faculty when it comes to the access to delivery of our education at the district, simply because I think sometimes we get the best ideas from there, so I'm glad to hear that you're already mining those ideas from our students and faculty, and I think that as long as we continue to do that and not forget about that, I think we're going to come out of this in a positive way. I'm very confident. And thank you, Carmen, for the work you've been doing. And I really appreciate your dedication. Thank you all.
Thank you. And the last comment or statement that I made, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to make sure that we're very clear as we communicate with our students, our faculty, our staff, the community of our entire region of Los Angeles, and the surrounding community. The Board of Trustees of LACCD is unwavering in our directive to our senior management to be open, to be responsive, to communicate, and to show like they have the leadership during this time of emergency. We have an expectation that we will share all of our best practices with everyone to make sure as a community we get through this crisis, and that the education of our region is superb, along with our expectations that it will continue to be so. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your evening. Please be safe, everyone. Please protect each other, and make sure that everyone is nice to each other and have a little bit more patience, including your humble trustee here. Thank you, and out.
That's perfect.